Hey everybody, how's it going? So during SDCC, almost no shock was bigger in Hall H than the return of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, and then the reveal that she will not only be playing Jane Foster, but the Jane Foster version of Thor, which appeared primarily during Jason Aaron's run of the Mighty Thor from 2015 to 2018. So this is really exciting because Taika's behind it from the get-go, and Taika supposedly said he was inspired by the run, which may or may not mean that Mangog is also the villain. That remains to be seen, but because this news came out and a lot of people haven't been reading the comics the last few years or so, we thought we would do a quick recap on Jane Foster Thor and basically what the character is all about in that whole story. So it all starts off with Thor becoming unworthy. So during the first arc of Jason Aaron's run during the Thor books with Thor God of Thunder, he introduced a character known as Gorr the God Butcher. Now this character, besides posing a physical threat to the various gods including Thor, also challenged the very nature of the gods. So Gorr claimed the gods were vain and vengeful by nature, and the universe is better without their presence. And Gorr continued to tell Thor more and more things, such as that gods, like Thor, who have worship, love, admiration from entire civilizations and cultures, they are unworthy of that worship. They are unworthy basically of being the gods they are. And this pushed Thor to try being a better god until the events of Original Sin. And when Nick Fury was given the powers of the Watcher, he enlightened Thor to the truth that Gorr was actually correct. And I think he actually said Gorr was right and that was it. And upon hearing this, Thor processed that he was indeed unworthy, thus Mjolnir dropped out of his hands and onto the surface of the moon. And for the next few years of publications, Thor Odinson became known as just Odinson, aka the Unworthy Thor. Now, around this time, Jane Foster was dealing with the news she had an aggressive form of breast cancer, and also during this time, she was invited to become a representative for Earth at the governmental body called Congress of Worlds, and this was basically a meeting of representatives from each of the 9 realms trying to solve issues diplomatically. Now, during these meetings, she would also receive therapy for her cancer, although she requested only natural type of therapies or therapies that match the sciences on Earth. Nothing magical, even though the magical therapies probably could have cured the cancer rather easily. And after Thor became unworthy, she began to hear calls and feel kind of pulls, if you will, to Mjolnir. And with Heimdall's assistance, she was able to journey to the moon and pick up Mjolnir. And per the enchantment on the hammer, she gained the powers of Thor along with a new body that could handle these newfound abilities. And while uncomfortable at first, Thor Odinson eventually accepted Jane's worthiness of the hammer and gave his blessing for her to use the name Thor instead of something like Thorred or, She-Thor. So because of the cancer Jane Foster had, her time of being Thor was always going to be short-lived because every time she transformed into Thor, Thor's magic would purge the chemotherapy treatments out of her body. Now, this new identity of Thor was met by some with skepticism and by others with pure out hostility. And those such as Odin, Cole, who's Odin's brother, aka the God of Fear from the Fear Itself event, Malekith the Accursed, and a few other Marvel villains challenged Jane in one way, shape, or form, basically when she became Thor because they saw her as a lesser version of Thor. Now, this didn't really work out for all of them, and Odin himself even came to respect Jane as Thor because she proved herself in a lot of various battles and adventures, and by the end of it, Jane was seen as a worthy ally to Odin and even given entrance to Valhalla if she chose it. Now, she also joined 2 different rosters of Avengers teams, the first one including Sam Wilson Captain America, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Sam Alexander Nova, Vision, and Kamala Khan Miss Marvel, against the threat of the Chitauri warlord called Warbringer and then later Kang the Conqueror. And then when this team broke up, she joined another iteration, which included Sam Wilson Captain America, Nadia Pym Wasp, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and Hercules. However, after multiple adventures as Thor, Jane's cancer reached stage 4, and she had to stop until her health improved. Unfortunately, around this time, Mangog arrived, so she became Thor yet again, not willing to see Asgard and the members and her friends and all that stuff killed in the process, because Mangog's whole thing is basically killing Asgardians, since he hates Asgardians, he hates Odin, he hates Thor, with such a passion that his mere creation was a result of a whole world hating Odin and the Asgardians. Now, to defeat Mangog, she had to sacrifice Mjolnir, and as a result, it caused her to transform back to Jane Foster and die from her illness. However, the combined efforts of both Odin and Odin's son Thor were able to revive her. However, since Mjolnir was no longer around, she couldn't operate as Thor. So focusing on her chemotherapy, she got better, and in better spirits and in better health, Jane was able to help the Asgardians with Malekith's invasion of Midgard during the events of War of the Realms. And also during this time, she was able to use the Ultimate Thor / War Thor hammer in order to become Thor yet again. However, because the hammer was so heavily damaged, the return of Jane as Thor was very short-lived, and after the War of the Realms event ended, she actually became the new Valkyrie. So what do you guys think about Jane Foster's time as Thor? Leave your comments down below, and we'll see you guys later.